Separate from the stimulus, we have some proactive or some positive policy steps that we think could help create jobs within our industry. And Kyle, why don't you talk a little bit about that?
One of the areas we've been working on for many years, actually dating back to the Energy Policy Act of 2005, was an effort to renovate commercial buildings and install energy-efficient equipment, lighting, HVAC, building envelope. And NEMA, a number of other parties, worked successfully in the Energy Policy Act of 2005 to create this commercial buildings tax deduction, which is available for building owners achieving a 50% improvement over the ASHRAE base standard. And today we're aware of about $400 million worth of tax deductions that have been claimed by building owners taking advantage of this deduction, and we worked with Congress to extend it through the year 2013. But during this economic downturn, one of the big challenges has been it's only at $1.80 per square foot, and so we've been pushing legislation which has been introduced both in the House and the Senate on a bipartisan basis to increase that deduction from $1.80 to $3 per square foot. And we're hopeful that legislation in the House and the Senate will see some action as Congress moves to look at energy issues later this session and tax issues later this session. We're also presently involved in stimulating renovation work in commercial buildings through another suggestion, and that is it's called Building Star, and it's been introduced in the Senate and pending introduction in the House. And this would provide, again, rebates to building owners for installing specific types of electrical equipment, including interior and exterior lighting with controls, variable speed drives and motors, energy automation equipment, energy management systems equipment included. Again, it's a short-term type thing. It's really focused on jobs, getting people out to support renovation work in jobs that would help distributors, contractors, electricians, the whole chain of distribution. And so we've been working on that piece of legislation as well.
Yeah, and going in lowering that payback period, increasing that return on investment, we feel that could really help move some of these jobs that may be on the board, these retrofit jobs that may be on the board and just may not be happening. So we'd like your support on that, and tell us, catch me in the hallway and tell me if you'd be willing to help us promote that bill with your elected officials. Now, Dorothy, the National Association of Manufacturers has also had some proactive programs about creating jobs. I believe Jobs for America.
Yes. Ed, we obviously jobs, if stimulus was the word of the day last year, jobs is the word of the year in 2010. And earlier this year, the NAM released a study that we did with the Independent Milken Institute to focus on job creation and what we could do, or what the federal government and the private sector could do to stimulate job creation. And the study looks at several areas. One is tax policy, another is export controls, and the third is infrastructure spending. And in the tax area, they just looked at two issues. One was to reduce the corporate tax rate to 22%. It would be a phased-in reduction of 13 percentage points, and what impact that would have on the economy over the next 10 years. And the study showed that it would increase GDP by 2.2% and create about over 2 million jobs just by reducing the corporate tax rate. The other tax provision they looked at was a permanent and strengthened R&D credit. R&D, as you know, is the lifeblood of innovation and very important to manufacturers. And making permanent and strengthening the R&D credit would increase the GDP by about 1.2% and create a little more than 500,000 jobs. On export controls, our export control rules in the United States have been in place since the Cold War, and if anything are antiquated. Just modernizing the export controls to free up the exports of a lot of high-tech products, high-value, high-tech products, not threatening national security, but there's a lot that you can do in the export control world that would free up a lot of export activity among manufacturers. That would generate about 310,000 jobs and increase GDP about 1%. So those are things you could do over 10 years. More immediately, though, we looked at increasing infrastructure spending in 10 targeted areas over the next 3 years. Things like broadband deployment, smart grid, highways, waterways. And if we, just focusing on those specific projects, over 3 years we could create about 10 million jobs over 1 year just create about 3 million jobs. So that gets back to our point in the stimulus. When we looked at the stimulus, we thought this would be a great opportunity to target some infrastructure spending. Not only are you going to create jobs, but you're going to help the United States aging infrastructure. And I'm sure, as many of you know, because transportation is so important to your industry, we have an aging highway system. We need a next-gen air traffic control system. Even our waterways are in bad shape. We need that money to go in there. Creating jobs at the same time would be a very good solution.